What's happening, guys? It's DK PRIORI and welcome to another build video of Dark Souls 3 The Convergence. This time we're going into this, what I've called Lady Tyrant, using the blades of the Tyrant, and this is just straight melee. One of the swords lights on fire, the other uses Dark Moon Blade, and the combos you can put together with this are insane. The damage is insane, and also I've got a little buff that I'm going to show you as well, called Allfather's Blessing, which is one of the new buffs introduced by the mod. Put that in the mix and we've got a really potent build. So let's get into it. First, let's get into the stats. So I've used the same build that I ran through the game with on the Let's Play and used for the Druid build, so the class hasn't changed and, you know, anything like that. I just respect to be able to put this build together. I just thought it was quicker. I had all the upgrade mats, I had all the weapons I needed. It didn't make sense to play through the game again with a different class, but, you know, you can shop and choose which class is going to suit this best from the ones available. I just respect the class that I already dumped loads of souls into and got to level 152. So we've got 40 vigor for a nice amount of health, 20 attunement. The only reason I've got 20 attunement is because I wanted a third spell slot just to test a few things out. Didn't really need it, and I could always go back and respec some more and take those extra points out of attunement and put them elsewhere, but I didn't really see a need to do that other than maybe for some extra vit. I've got 30 endurance. You're going to need a decent amount of endurance with a build like this because all your damage output is going to be melee and these weapons are quite heavy. 14 vitality. That isn't base vitality. I did have to put a couple of points in there just to make sure that I had the extra weight for the added armor and the weight of these swords. Now we've got 45 strength, and you'll see why soon enough. Obviously, ultra great swords traditionally scale with strength. Got a little bit of dex as well, because you do need some dex for this kind of build. I've got 45 int and 45 faith. Looks down at 7. Int and faith are that high because these weapons also scale with int and faith as well as strength. So it made sense for me to get the most out of the scaling. It made sense for me to, you know, attribute points equally between strength, int and faith. Going into the equipment, we're pretty basic here. You know, it's all pretty standard stuff. I've kept it minimal. Everything here is for utility and to just buff the damage of the swords, you know, to that level that you want to get out of them. So we've got the blades of the Tyrant plus 10. These are paired ultra great swords. They have a unique moveset, and the weapon art buffs each sword, one with fire, one with Dark Moon Blade, as I said earlier, and as you probably saw in the introduction. That amplifies the damage exponentially. The blades of the Tyrant, interestingly enough, even though they do scale with strength, they've got a B scaling in strength. They're split. The damage is split between magic and fire. So, with that BB scaling in int and faith, that's why we went with the 45 each in int and faith, but it's also got that B scaling in strength, so I went with 45 strength there. You need 15 dex as an attribute requirement to be able to use these swords properly, which is why dex is at 15. But as you can see from the damage values there, I'm getting 704 magic and 704 fire damage just through the scaling alone. I've got the Saint's Talisman plus 10. This is... I tested a few different talismans, and this, I tested it against the Sacred Chime of Filianor as well. The Saint's Talisman just sort of outclassed everything. I also tested the Sunlight Talisman and Yorshka's Chime. This did everything that I needed it to do. The spell buffs at 137 at plus 10, and It's got only a 20 faith requirement, so that's pretty good. But we don't need to really be concerned with the talisman too much. All I'm doing is using that to apply a buff, and that buff doesn't last very long anyway. Going into the armor, I went with the Dancer's set. The reason I went with the Dancer's set is because it boosts strength, dex, int, and faith all by 1. So actually, my stat allocation is a little bit skewed as when I explained it earlier, because all I did was level strength to 40, int and faith to 40, and dex to 10, but the armor with that auxiliary effect of giving me all those stats buffed by 1 takes me to the 5 that I need in each individual attribute requirement just to get that extra scaling. So Dancer's set, pretty good, the best I found for this kind of build, and also doesn't look half bad either. Going into the rings, I've got my basic Ring of Fap, or Fap Ring, Ring of Favour. It just increases HP, stamina, and maximum equip load, which is nice to have. You're going to need that equip load buff just a little bit because these swords are heavy. I have stuck with the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring, which increases all magic damage by 15%. That applies to the magic damage output of these weapons. Got the Witch's Ring, which increases the fire damage of the weapon by 15%. That's also a really nice buff. And I've got one of the shells, the Shell of Asmodeus, boosts all weapon attacks by 12%, reduces stamina consumption by 12%, and increases your max equipment load by 12%. So that's kind of a buff and a Havel's Ring all mashed into one, and that's really useful to have for a build such as this. Now, if we come up to our testing dummy over here that the mods kindly added for us, we can start testing things out. So, first things first, damage is 2,224 at base. Pretty significant. Pretty significant indeed. And you can see those are just the 2 standard light attacks. So the heavy sword with R1 just does a big old slash. And then the L1 attack with the smaller sword does like a Dark Moon Blade spinny attack. Really nice moveset. Heavy attacks, just a big sweep again from the sword there. And then this is the meat and spunk of the build. Watch this. That was one move. Swing that together with another. See that? And what's great is this jump attack. Just boom, fall down on your enemy like so. And with the buff applied, damage is still at 2224. So let's put our swords away, unbuff them. Now, let's see what this is all about. So, Allfather's Blessing, the complete biography of the Allfather, telling of all his great deeds. This blessing increases resistance from all status effects, increases absorption by 25%, stamina recovery, reduces the stamina cost of weapon attacks, reduces the FP cost of miracles by 25%, and increases all damage dealt by 10% whilst above 80% HP. So what happens is, you put this buff on, as soon as your HP falls below 80%, the buff is, well, you're debuffed essentially, you're back to normal. The buff is knocked off. But as long as your HP is above 80%, the buff doesn't go away. Even if you rest at a bonfire, it will stay. So it's pretty potent. So let's apply that right now. So you see we're kind of glowing. We've even got glowing eyes, which looks really awesome. And if we check our stats out, we're up to 2446, whilst our HP is above that threshold. So damage increased massively. Should also point out the rolling attack. Of the Dark Moon Blade sword, the smaller of the two swords, puts out this sort of magic wave, which is great for crowd control. If you're getting ganged up on, you can sort of back off, pop one of those out. Little slow to wind up, but that beam will hit multiple targets. So it's just great for clearing out, you know, crowds of enemies that are sort of ganging up on you and things of that nature. Now you'll notice with Allfather's Blessing, the resistances do wear off, but as long as your HP is above 80%, the stamina, FP, health, all that stuff, the damage that you're outputting, that will remain. That doesn't fall off. The resistances do fall off eventually. So, let's go and take a look at some bosses. So first up, Abyss Watchers. Know how much trouble these fucks gave me in the Let's Play. Who wiped him out before the other guys even started coming up. So now, he's in his second phase. Ooh, took a little bit of damage. Oh wow, he just went right through. We better get our shit together here. This could be embarrassing. There we go. Down he goes. So, as you can see, we just ripped through the Abyss Watchers with not really any problems. I mean, obviously I tanked a few hits there. One thing about this build, just with the armor that I'm using to buff my stats and stuff, is that she doesn't have a lot of poise, so it is easy when I'm like swinging through these weird movesets and stuff. It is easy to kind of knock her out of those, but other than that, pretty brutal indeed. Second boss I've decided to come to is our old friend Archdruid Caimar. Again, another boss that gave me a little bit of an issue in the Let's Play when I first encountered him and I had to go away, level up and sort of come back to him. I decided we're going to go toe to toe with him. And he's already on my ass. Oh dear, oh dear. See, he's still not a pushover. But we got him down in the end. So as you can see, pretty solid melee build here. Pretty solid indeed. I know we took on two sort of simple bosses, but wanted to kind of showcase her against bosses that have like weird movesets, sort of they move around a lot, and there's a lot of sort of dancing involved almost in their movesets, and I think those two are great at showcasing that. Plus, I wanted to go back and revisit a couple of bosses that gave me some big issues in the Let's Play and see how brutal she was against those bosses. And let me tell you, Lady Tyrant, she does not disappoint. Anyway, that's been enough from me. If you want to try this build out, give it a go. If you've got Dark Souls 3 on PC, install the Convergence mod. All the stuff I've shown you is from that mod, and it's fantastic. Anyway, I've been DK Priori, and I'll see you again soon. Peace.